Panama. It is day 3 of the PokerStars Championship Panama main event, live from the Sortis Hotel Spa and Casino in Panama City. I am James Hartigan. Sat alongside me is Mr. Joe Stapleton.
Hello, my babies. Allow me to quote Van Halen when I say, Panama, ha, 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 ha.
So there's the canal. We are inside. We have got 78 players returning for day 3, and the bubble will burst when we are down to 71. That's how many will get paid. That's how many will share the prize pool. About to get cards in the air. Level 14 of the main event about to start. Blinds are 1,500, 3,000 with a 500 ante.
Dealer Clara, you know what to do. Now let's mix up all the cards and hand them out to the players. Hello, my babies on Twitch. Hello, my babies on Twitter. Perry's on board. Got your nosa. Bikey Lee.
Megan Joy chimes in, hashtag PokerStarsTV. Good afternoon and happy bubble day. Peter Santamaria says, yes, this is how you spend a Friday evening. I hope you've got no plans for the weekend so that you can be here to watch us over the course of the next 48 hours. We're live every day from here through until Monday. Action has been folded around to the man himself, Tito Ortiz. He's out.
Bikey Lee on Twitch asks, have you caught up with our favorite Dutch female pro player, hockey player lately? He's referring to Fatima. Fatima played in a really cool cash game, I think it was. Charity game.
It was a charity sit and go.
Sit and go, okay.
It was in Barcelona. It was Neymar Jr.'s invitational event for some of his celebrity friends.
Yeah, it looked super fun. If you couldn't be here, good to be there.
So Denis Timofeev is the guy who's raised here from under the gun +2. Timofeev, we mentioned, is second in chips at the start of the day. He had 7 side event cashes in Malta last year.
Wow. Winning
one of those events for 64,000 euros. He qualified online for this particular event, and facing his raise to 6,500 is Thomas Lefort from Canada.
Thomas was on our feature table for quite a while yesterday.
Lefort has already had 2 side event cashes here in Panama. So
hoping to make it Le3 cashes.
Another Canadian, Samuel Gagnon, in the big blind.
Easy game.
Raise and take it for Timofeev. So you can see on screen, 78 remain from the 366 who started, and you can see the bubble, 72. And when we're down to 71, the bubble bursts. We're in the money. Happy days. Going to play 4 full levels today, so not only do you get a world-famous bubble coverage, not only do you get to see these players make the money, you then get the post-bubble bust-out bonanza. My only fear, Joe, is that we end the day with close to 16 players, because tomorrow, of course, is the day traditionally where we play down to 16.
Yeah, there's a good chance we get to 16. I think we get to about 18 today. I think we get real close to 16.
I'm going to call the over on that. I think it might be around the 30 mark.
Okay. We had a question from Max Eck on Twitch who asked, is Garg still in? The answer is yes at the start of play today. Low cash Garg, still in.
Yeah, we'll show you some of the other players still in the main event, some of the players of the outer tables in just a moment, as we see Timofeev raise for the second hand in a row, this time from under the gun +1.
All right, so I won't give away the names of folks who are still in.
Now, he may have found a customer here in Jiachen Gong, the 3rd Canadian at our feature table.
The Gong song. Gong, 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 gong.
Live earnings of more than $400,000. Came 15th in Dublin last year for nearly 29,000 euros. Gong has decided not to get involved, so action round to Lefort in the cutoff. Hello to Alan, who sends St. Patrick's Day greetings from a cold, wet and windy Limerick City. Alan looking forward to today's coverage. Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone in the Emerald Isle.
Yeah. Our fearless leader in America quoted a Nigerian as a St. Patrick's Day limerick yesterday.
So this is folded around to the blinds. Gagnon in the small. Gagnon starts the hand with 82,000, a below average stack. Edward Mandel, who's in the big blind, is one of the shorties at the table with just 15 bigs. Lefort, by the way, you might understand why he's taking some time over his decisions. He's got 7 big blinds.
He's got a long way to go. We are close to hand for hand, but he has got a little while. 7 big blinds is going to be pretty tight.
So let's have a look at some of the more famous faces arriving before the start of play. A guy who was a big stack yesterday but is coming into play on day 3 as a short stack is Jason Kuhn. JC Alvarado has more than 100K at the start of play. His friend Steve O'Dwyer is an above average stack. Martin Finger. Not to be confused with Tito Ortiz, Eric Cajolet. And there is Tito, rocking the pink cardigan as he's shown by Kwan up onto the feature table, following the all-important fist pump. There's Gary, chip leader Igor Yaroshevsky. And I hear we've had our first KO of the day.
KO, oh no.
This is the elimination of Michael Carter in 78th place, taking us down to 77 players, ever closer to the bubble.
You know, JC Alvarado, we saw he's still in. Last night, we ran into him and Ike Haxton in the bar, and JC has multiple times over the last couple years asked me to send him a clip of my stand-up. Since he lives in Mexico, he can't come. So last night I sent it to him. Didn't hear back. So I'm kind of sweating that a little bit.
Jane Windsor says, since the lovable Jake Cody is out, we saw his elimination yesterday, I'm looking for someone else to cheer for. Does anyone have any suggestions? I would advise cheering for Tito Ortiz, because if you don't, he will find you and he will hurt you.
I actually don't like all these comparisons to Tito, like having a violent temper or being a bully. He never really comes across that way, just to be fair. We're goofing around because
absolutely
he is a literal meathead. But we've been given no indication that Tito has ever threatened a human being outside of, at least in the poker tournament area.
So you'll see that we've ticked down to 76 now. Another elimination from one of the outer tables. 71 paid, hand for hand at 72. We are on bubble watch. We did mention yesterday that, sadly, the whole Pope, our head of live poker operations, Neil Johnson, is very poorly, can't be with us here in Panama. You may have heard on the mic that Luca Vivaldi is actually running the bubble here in the main event. Oh, clock's been called on Lefort.
Whoa, look at that. Whoa. Man, if you are stalling on the bubble, there is one guy you don't want to have hanging over your shoulder, and that is Luca Vivaldi.
So the rest of the table picked up on the fact that Lefort is stalling to a certain degree.
Le4, Le3, Le2, Le1. Your hand is dead.
Look at Tito's specs. Tito's gone full St. Patrick's Day.
Somebody check those to make sure that they aren't see-through for the cards. Don't go anywhere, Luca. something tells me that if Lefort has no problem sitting there and waiting to be counted down, he's probably going to need it again.
So rounds the blinds. The raise from Timofeev came from under the gun. It's Tito's big.
Yes, we know, but it's also his big blind.
And he defends.
I don't really like violence. I'm not an MMA fan, don't like watching that stuff, but I wouldn't mind seeing an arm wrestling match between Tito and Eric Cajolet. That I would watch. As long as it's not that weird one from The Fly. Remember The Fly?
Yeah.
That really disturbed me when I was a kid.
So check on the flop, jack on the turn.
And I know what you're thinking, James. How did I see The Fly when I was a kid? I was allowed to see R-rated movies. We did have HBO, and occasionally I would flip through and catch something disturbing. And my parents were right to not let me watch that stuff. Bet a call on the turn after no betting on the flop.
Yeah, Tito decided to lead the turn following the lack of a continuation bet from Timofeev on the flop. Board pairs on the river, 25,500 in the middle. Tito the effective stack with 260 behind. These are obviously the two biggest stacks at this table, two of the biggest stacks in the tournament, and Tito has bet big.
Full pot.
He has bombed it.
I think I like Tito for King Jack here. I like him for at least a jack.
Timofeev lets this one go. So the first hand we see Tito Ortiz play today sees him add 15,000 to his stack. Close to 100 big blinds for the former MMA fighter. Timofeev still chip daddy with close to 200 bigs. Meanwhile, out in the field, those are kings, those are jacks. And after that river card, kings are good and the jacks are done. That's a gentleman who was on our feature table yesterday, Roman Papacek. He is out in 76th place, leaving us with 75. 3 away from the bubble, 3 away from a table breaking, 3 away from hand-to-hand play.
You better Papa check yourself before you Papa wreck yourself.
Byron Caveman, the player who took out Papacek there.
Well, maybe Lefort is gonna not have to hang on so long till we get to the bubble. It's the Gong show. And it's over. For now.
So round 2, Lefort. 7 big blinds. Will we see the clock called again?
Another one just tight. I'm gonna stretch my legs. Yes. You guys have your shades on, so I thought I'd put on my shades. It's a little light. Yeah. Didn't wear them all the tournament. Lights here, but yeah.
Did you see who it was who called the clock on him yesterday?
Yesterday, or the last hand.
I want to be the only one to wear the Shamrock hat.
Either way, the answer is no. I did not see who called the clock on him. Boom One Outer on Twitch says, here we go again. Gotti says, clock again. FFS.
Well, Luca is standing right by the table, so he's going to step in if needed, but looks like the 4 has folded, and the action is now around to Gagnon. He's got just shy of 30 big blinds at the start of this hand.
They go into the muck. Action on Edward Mandel.
So round to Tito in the small blind, and he raises.
And he is attacking the largest stack at the table, the only player at this table that can bust him. He is out of position. We're going to see the sweet Tito burrito, C-Betterino. Yeah, we are. Tito's bet sizing. We'll just call it erratic. That's 3,500 into a pot of 17,000. And it looks like Tito's made another small bet on the journey at 3,500 again, this time into 24,000.
5 of hearts on the river. So yeah, 6.5K pre and then 3.5K on the flop, on the turn, check, check, showdown. And looks like Tito's shown the winner. Ace, Jack.
Jack is good.
Second pair, top kicker. Tito adds another 17K to his stack, moves over the 300K mark. 100 big blinds now. Second in chips at this table. Timofeev still playing more than 560,000. We've got 3 shorties at the table. Mandel, Gong, and Lefort are all in the danger zone.
Danger zone!
Just to remind you where we are at in the PokerStars Championship Panama main event. 20 minutes into day 3. 75 players remaining from the 366 who entered, with 71 getting paid. So we are closing in on the bubble. A min cash here worth $7,720. So here is one of our shorties, Gong with his 10 big blind stack.
Gong with the wind.
He folds, so around to Lefort. Put the kettle on, make a cup of tea, have a digestive. Interestingly, Luca's still standing there, and I imagine that regardless of whether a player calls the clock, he will step in if he feels that the thinking time is excessive.
He knows what he's doing. You find something humorous about this stalling, James? Oh, yes. Turns out it is humorous. Check out Tito Ortiz working the bubble, huh? Unfortunately, again, that big stack directly to his left. Without the presence of Denis Timofeev, he would have a lot easier time.
So Tito's button raise has been re-raised by Timofeev, who has 3-bet to 21,000. Mikhail Zamyatin in the big blind folds. Action back on Tito. Now, I know that Tito has been receiving some coaching from Felipe Ramos from Team Pro. So maybe this was one of Felipe's kind of nuggets of information, which is you're a big stack, you're coming into the play fourth and chips, you need to be putting the pressure on. The problem is, as you pointed out, Joe, he has not got the best seat drawer in the house.
Right, and also if I were Felipe, I would probably focus on tomorrow's lesson being about post-flop aggression.
Glenn Weber on Twitter has a message for Thomas Lefort. He says, come on, Lefort, stalling like that is just so un-Canadian.
I used to have a much bigger problem with it than I do now.
I mean, that's the thing. It's not the wrong thing to do, especially if people are going broke quite quickly. We seem to have kind of slowed down as the magic number approaches, but at the start of play, it seemed like we were going to hit that bubble in no time at all.
It's part of the game.
Well, he's under the gun here. Now nursing a 6 big blind stack.
I wonder what it feels like to be in his head, though, if he's like at all like, oh, this is uncomfortable, but I have to do it.
That's the thing. I don't think I could do it.
I think I could,
I'd be
but
so embarrassed. I'd be turning bright red.
I would have to entertain people while I'm doing it, like do bits. What's the deal with felt? Could they not come up with anything better? Surely there's had to be an improvement on table material.
So Pavliuk has limped under the gun +1.
Interesting. Tito says, limps are for the bank. I think I got that wrong.
I like it, though. The raise is to 6,500. Action on Denis Timofeev on the button.
Yeah, I think Timofeev has picked up on the fact that Tito, despite what happens off the felt, can be pushed around a little bit.
So the 3-bet is 20,000 total. Action folded back around to Pavliuk. I don't know. Pavliuk looks like the kind of guy who could be limp trapping with a monster in early position, and he so quickly called that 3-bet.
Pretty bizarre to limp call a massive 3-bet
Absolutely.
without a monster here from that position.
And the bizarre thing is,
Tito's in 2.
Well, he finds himself getting an amazing price. So we're going 3-way to the flop in a 3-bet pot, nearly 70K in the middle already, and a pretty nothing flop, 7-5 deuce. Pavliuk checks. Tito checks.
I think this checks around a lot.
It's a classic ace-king flop, right?
Now that I looked at Pavliuk as a person, yes, he's not so necessarily. He looks like someone that could actually Gibbons and then double Gibbons. Under the gun +1, nearly a Gibbons.
A continuation bet of 27,000. Pavliuk now folds, having put a decent amount of his stack into this pot already.
May have given Pavliuk too much credit there.
What about Tito?
Tito's going to have to fold this most of the time.
What if he's got jacks?
Yeah, you're really hating life right now with jacks. I don't even know. You're just out of position, tangling against the one guy at the table that can bust you.
I think if Tito had a hand like jacks, we would have seen a fourth bet going pre.
I do not agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't think Tito re-raises with jacks then?
No.
Well, he's called the 27,000. An ace on the turn. This is the point that Pavliuk goes, no!
Well, at least you can feel better about getting away from jacks now when the ace hits. I don't know why we've decided he has jacks, but it's fun. It's fun to play the deciding game, the one-hand range game. I mean, if Timofeev puts in something like 60K here, that's not going to quite be that big, is it? More like 30. Oh, not even. 22. Oh, boy.
This pot is getting big. Timofeev's bet of 22,000 called by Tito Ortiz.
Tito seems a little nervous.
166,500 in the middle. Another ace on the river. Tito's got 225K behind. It's his decision.
I don't think Timo, oh, it goes check, check. Tito shows an ace and a jack.
And Timofeev mucks. Tito hoping possibly to induce another bet from Timofeev on the river, doesn't get it. And Tito Ortiz is now up to nearly 400,000. He's playing 130 big blinds. Luca having words with Thomas Lefort and pointing out to him that he's not the only one being targeted, that the floor is monitoring a number of players who they feel are stalling unnecessarily. I mean, Jeff Godley points out on Twitter, it's a tough spot for the other players versus Lefort's tanks, because if you call the clock, you give him a guaranteed 60 seconds. You say that, but the floor does have the right to reduce that clock. And obviously, if Luca were in a position where he thought the tanking were excessive, that clock may reduce to 30 seconds or even 15 seconds.
Jeff's next tweet also makes sense here. Don't think Pavliuk limp insta-calls 3-bet with a monster, eat Hollywood to draw in TO. I think you're right, Jeff. I think I like James' original assessment of like it being like ace-king that he just didn't want to get into a raising war with, and then got away from super easy on the flop.
Action's been folded around to Tito, who's having a great time on the bubble. Already putting on the pressure, but also making some hands, which helps. Not going to play this one. Timofeev also folds around to the button. Zamyatin. He's got around 50 big blinds. He's got around an average stack. And he's going to shove on the two shorties behind him. Gong's got 8 bigs. Lefort has 5. A great spot to put the pressure on your opponents. Risking very little.
One fold. I assume we're going to see a delayed fold here. Take your time, our Luke is distracted. It's kind of like when I'm at the gym and my trainer like walks away for a minute. When he comes back, I'm like 11, 12.
A not unreasonable amount of thinking time there, but raise and take it for the Russian. Okay, so we have got a free roll for you today, as we do every day of our live coverage on PokerStars TV. $2,000 in the prize pool, and it kicks off at 4:15 Eastern Daylight Time. That's 3:15 Panama time. That is 9:15 in the evening Central European Time. Just search PokerStars TV in the Stars lobby to register for that game.
Yeah. Get to the password. Come on.
Don't forget the bounties. $100 bounties on the English commentators. Knock out me, Joe, or Matt Broughton Waster, and you get $100.
Pass, please.
Okay, here is the all-important password. You need to register for the game. Today's password, Polera. P-O-L-L-E-R-A, lowercase, Polera. In honor, of course, of Hector Lopez Polera. You know that story, Joe?
I don't. I thought Polera was going to be the disease I ended up bringing home with me from Panama.
A couple of years ago, there was an English guy called Peter Miller who was flying from London to Glasgow, and his suitcase didn't make it. And it turned out that his suitcase had somehow been diverted to Panama, and the airline, I'm not going to name them, would not return the suitcase. So out of his own pocket, Peter Miller had to fly from London to Panama City to pick up his suitcase. And the story made the Panamanian newspapers, and a very wealthy guy called Hector Lopez Polera heard this story and was like, I'm going to pay that guy's airfare and buy him some new luggage.
That's cool. Where did the suitcase end up on his way home?
I don't know, I just made up the whole thing.
Oh.
Hashtag fake facts.
That's twice now. Sorry, Doc. I went to Panama, had a really good time. Came home with a nasty case of Polera.
Timofeev has raised here. And the action is on the other Russian at the table, Mikhail Zamyatin. Round to Gong on the button. Round to Lefort in the small blind.
Lefort, a regular at the Playground Poker Club, I'm told. Thank you to someone on Stars on Twitch.
Put your feet up. Do a crossword. Write an email to your nan.
More like delete an email from your nan. Enough with the forwards, Grandma.
So it's going to be a defend from Pavliuk. He's counted out the call. He makes the call. We're going to have ourselves a flop at the feature table. Queen, Jack, 8 with 2 clubs.
Queen Jack, a great big line calling hand. This really does connect with the big blind calling range. Super hard, but not this time. Great, thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Roman. I hate you.
Now, obviously, we're trying to keep an eye on the action at the outer tables as well as we get closer to the bubble, as we get closer to making the money here in the Panama main event. Well, we have a situation here where Anthony Diot has tabled ace-9 against Alexandre Viard's jack-10. Viard, the player, at risk, and it's not looking good for him. He did flop a gut shot.
Diamonds?
Diamonds not a factor. The king sees Viard River Broadway, and he will double up, so we do not lose a player in this hand. However, over the other side of the room, I am hearing that is Manuel Martinez Sosona, who has just been eliminated in 75th place, meaning we are down to 74, 2 away from a table break and 2 away from the money.
More like Manuel Martinez Solonga. Adios, muchacho.
Back to the feature table. Still 54 minutes to play at this level. Blinds 1,500, 3,000 with a 500 ante. Interesting. It was Tito's turn to limp. Timofeev has raised to 8,000. Action now on Lefort. Down to 4 big blinds now, by the way. I'm not sure it's going to be close. I'm not sure he can legitimately just keep tank folding. I actually think he's at risk of being blinded out of the tournament at the rate that we're going.
He's down the 4 big blinds, right? Yeah.
And remember, he's having to post an ante of 500 every single hand.
Gotta be so tempting to peel here, even though it's for half your stack. He's not closing the action, that's the problem. If he's in the big blind, I think he can justify it a little bit more. You can so easily be put all in by one of the 2 players that have yet to act behind you.
By the way, we mentioned the fact that we've got a couple of players at the table, one of them being Denis Timofeev, who qualified online. Should point out that there are still 4 spin-and-go qualifiers in the field here on day 3, all hoping to make the money. Adrian Gruber, the guy who manages Nando's in London. Clement Tarmakov, Fabrice de Benedictus, who was at our feature table yesterday, and Karim Zezur.
So the limp call from Tito, and these 2 are going to go at it again. I said call before he had actually called.
He did say,
did
let's do
call?
this.
Okay.
Yeah. It was clear he wanted to play. He wants to see a flop, which is Queen 5-4 with 2 spades.
Oh, and he leads.
And Timofeev folds. Go Tito. Up to over 400,000 now.
Working this bubble like a cut above the right eye. I know that's a boxing reference. I don't really know that much about
They still punch people.
MMA.
So yeah, Lefort just shy of 5 big blinds. Gong, 8 big blinds. Mandel, 13 bigs. And then you have the guys with all the chips. Ortiz and Timofeev with 74 remaining here on Bubble Day in Panama. Now, let me let you into a little secret. Tito is actually scheduled to fly out of Panama tomorrow. Now, obviously, if he makes day 4, he is going to extend his stay. I want to see him make day 4 for 2 reasons. Number 1, because it will be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's great to have him in this tournament, and it's great to see him do well. Number 2, if Tito extends his stay, and is still here on day 4. He will be our guest on Poker in the Ears and Eyes.
If I had my soundboards, I would have just attempted to hit the applause button, but hit the wrong one instead. So I just want everyone
So just imagine right
imagine
now,
that.
you're hearing the noise of someone vomiting.
Right. Or like a car horn. But not the applause I was intending to hit.
Under the gun raise from Tito, 6.5K.
Gong.
Surround to Lefort.
Yeah, James, I think you're right. I think there's a good shot this kid bubbles.
It is horrible to see someone literally blinded out of a poker tournament, though.
Not as horrible as seeing someone blinded in an MMA match.
Folded around to Roman Pavliuk on the button.
Hey.
He's going to call and hopefully play a flop in position. Still got the blinds to act. Gagnon in the small.
Well, Gagnon style.
He folds. So now we've got Edward Mandel in the big blind, and this is a player we haven't seen anything from so far today. Obviously, he's pretty short, just 12 big blinds. He's going to pass, and we're going heads up to the flop. That flop is all hearts. The king, the queen, the 9 of strawberries. Tito does not continue. Action check to Pavliuk. He checks behind. Turn card pairs the board. Wow. We're only on the turn and we already have a straighty flushy paired board. I'm excited.
It can only get better from here.
Tito makes a delayed continuation bet of 10,000, gets a fold from Pavliuk. 4,000 players registered in the free roll. A reminder that today's password is Pollera, P-O-L-L-E-R-A, in honor of Hector Lopez Pollera, the 38th president of Panama. Pollera is the word you need to register for today's PokerStars TV free roll.
I'm not falling for your fake facts again, James.
Meanwhile, action on the outer tables. We saw Anthony Diot get very lucky with Jack 10 against Ace 9. Now he is racing. He is all in with pocket 9s against one of our spin and go qualifiers.
The dream, Diotti. The dream.
Actually, no, it's Kamal Batar with the Ace Jack. And it's a 9 on the river. Anthony Diot survives again.
The dream, Diot. T. The dream.
So that is another double up, meaning we are still at 74 players. And my bad, of course, it was Diot who lost that last hand with Ace 9 and is now doubled up with the 9s.
The 9 giveth and the 9 taketh away.
Exactly.
9. 9, 9, 9. Thanks, Big Sam. Kind words on Twitter. Thank you.
Zamyatin raising in early position. Gong with the decision. Folds. Has 8 big blinds left. Lefort, as we've mentioned, down to 4 big blinds.
Gong knows how to low-key stall. Got to fly in under the radar.
Victor is very happy, by the way, that we gave out the free roll password. He says, thanks for password. Now my birthday is complete. Thanks to Joe and Staps.
You're welcome, and you're welcome. I, of course, have everything to do with the free roll, the password, and the giving out of it.
Learn a language. Paint a portrait. Take a course in interior design.
Check your Facebook 700 times. Gotti defending Lefort in the Twitch chat. It's a perfectly legit strategy, and he's already gone through 3 people busting.
Luca, come back. Look at how hard Tito's staring at him. 2.5 minutes.
His stalling game is very strong. You got to give him credit. He's good at stalling. He's good at not doing anything for a long period of time.
Oh, come on. This is 3 minutes now.
But he's doing a great job of looking like he's thinking about something. Well, there's your shadow. Luca will juke ya. No one at the table. By the way, it's up to the players at the table to call the clock often, and no one has done that.
There's the fold. Pavliuk is going to call the raise. Phil McMillan chimes in on Twitter. He says, I've blinded out of a couple of tournaments and it is not a good feeling, but there isn't much you can do if you are card dead. I don't think there have been any situations, other than when he's been under the gun, that the action has been folded to Lefort, where he's had the opportunity to even get it in. And now he's in a point where he has no fold equity anyway, where the big blind's going to call him with any 2.
He's well beyond fold equity. I mean, when he sat down at the table, he didn't even really have much.
Sure. Okay, I think we're going to have a three-way party here with Tito Ortiz calling the raise out of the big blind as well. King 7-5 with 2 spades. Action on Tito. He's going to check. Continuation bet from Zamyatin into 2 opponents.
Fairly dry board, but I would be a little bit worried about what hands are strong enough for these 2 guys to call. A little less worried about Tito, especially once he's sized like that.
Tito lets it go. So more than halfway through the level now. 40 minutes on the clock remaining on level 14. Are we going to hit the bubble this level? Well, chances are strong because I'm hearing that we have just lost another player. That is Jairo Escobar. He was on our feature table yesterday. He's consoling himself with a warm drink out in 74th place, leaving us with 73, 1 off the bubble, 2 off the money. Back at our feature table, the action is on one of the shorties. Action now on the other shorty. The super short stack. I love Jeff Godley's tweet. How strong would it be if Lefort balanced his tanking range by thinking for 3 minutes, getting the clock called on him, and then jamming aces?
It would be fun, but he's probably going to get looked up in like 6 different spots, and, you know, aces are not doing great. It would be fun to watch, though, agreed. Desire Bra on Twitch asks, is Lefort the shortest stack in the tournament at the moment? I do not know, but I do know it would be difficult to have fewer chips than he has right now. Come on, Gagnon style.
That's roughly half the tournament average. 73,500. Not going to open from the cutoff. Folds to the button. Edward Mandel, who's now playing around 10 big blinds. He passes. So we have that blind on blind situation that we saw last time. Tito versus Denis. No raise this time from Tito. He gives Timofeev a walk. They are the 2 biggest stacks of the table. Timofeev with 500,000. Tito Ortiz with 412,000. So just so you know where we're at right now, we're not hand for hand. We will be when we get down to 72. When another player goes out in 73rd place, they will pause the clock while they break a table. And then we'll have 9 tables of 8. All the tables will be balanced when we go hand for hand. That's when we'll be on the pure bubble, and that's when obviously play will not continue at one table until it's completed at all the other tables on the previous hand. So stalling at that point is a non-factor. Obviously, we will play on today well beyond the bubble. 4 levels planned for day 3. Play should conclude at approximately 7 p.m. local time. That's 6 hours from now. 90-minute levels from day 3 onwards in a PokerStars Championship main event.
Well, I could update you guys. JC Alvarado got back to me about my stand-up.
Was it positive?
Yes.
Oh, good.
He said, "Ha, that was great. Seems like a super tough room for working on stuff, though." That seems to be the standard response I get from people who watch it. They go, "Good stuff, tough room." Okay.
So round to Tito on the button. And he limps. Well, okay then.
This is unorthodox bubble pressure play right here. All right, well, it looks like... Nope. It's so hard to tell if anything's going to happen on these bubble hands or not because everyone tanks now. Everyone's taking their time.
So after Tito's limp came the raise from Timofeev, and Tito is now deciding whether to call that raise, play the flop in position. Of course, he has the option to re-raise. But he's going to call. Once again, the 2 big stacks of the table go to battle. King 7-5, 2 diamonds.
The one spot in the entire orbit where Timofeev's out of position to Tito. Hasn't really mattered so far anyway. Tito's gotten the better of him, I think, in every single hand they've played together so far today. And it looked like Ortiz led that flop. Oh no, it went check bet call, obviously. I saw a chip go in. I think Tito bet very small, a virtual check.
I think it was 5,000, and now he's made it 10,000 on the turn.
James, sometimes they have it, and sometimes they always have it. And I think sometimes Tito always has it.
River is the 8 of hearts. Timofeev, the pre-flop aggressor, after Tito just limped on the button. A bet of 5,000 from Tito on the flop, 10,000 on the turn. It's been checked to him for a 3rd street.
Tito betting every single streeto.
15,000.
And gets called. Tito shows what's very likely to be the winner.
Sure enough, two pair, kings and sevens. Add another 41.5K to your stack.
It's all about luck.
And
Seriously.
they're almost dead level now. Tito Ortiz
Yeah.
with 453,000. Denis Timofeev down to 475,000. Look at that.